Hi friends, welcome back to Whiskey and Wit. I'm Whitney, and today's video is a DIY of this buffalo check serving tray. I created this for my guest room, but this would make a perfect gift, and the best part of the whole thing is that I made it for under $10. This project starts with a round board. I grabbed mine at Menards. They have a whole section of different edge-glued pine, and this was under $7. I took my white Waverly chalk paint and I started with the back. So I did one coat on the back to make sure it was covered and that it was going to look finished if somebody ended up picking it up. With a tray, it's going to be sitting down a lot, so I didn't worry about putting multiple coats. I just wanted it to have white. Then I flipped it over when it was dry and did two coats on the front side. Once those two coats dry, you're going to grab some painter's tape and you're going to want to make sure that it is super dry so you don't pull anything off. So I just took my hand and moved it around, and if you pull your hand off and it's clean and you don't feel any tackiness, you're good to go. So I started with one strip directly down the center of the board. And you can totally measure this, but I've done a few of these buffalo checks this holiday and I feel pretty comfortable with it. So once you stick that first piece down, you're going to want to make sure all the edges are down. And then I took a smaller piece as a spacer, and then I added my next piece. You're going to repeat this process on both sides of your board until you've got vertical stripes all the way through. Once you've pushed down all of your pieces of tape, you're going to mix some gray paint. I used Waverly chalk paint in white and also a little bit of ink, which is black, to make a gray. So the kicker here is you want to make sure that it's the right color, but you also want to make sure you have the right quantity. You're going to need enough paint to paint these lines as well as a whole nother set. So I mixed a little bit more and then I went through and painted all of the lines. This is why you're going to want to make sure that each edge is pushed down so then that way it's not bleeding and you get a clean line. Once it's dry, you can peel it off and then you're going to repeat the taping steps horizontally. Then I did the same thing, painted that gray on the horizontal lines. And once that dries, you're going to be able to see the previous lines pretty easily, especially when you look through the blue tape. So what you're going to want to do is put back the tape where you originally had it, which means you're going to want to put it over the lighter blue area because the darker blue lines are where your paint is. So then I just went through and eyeballed it. Again, you can measure it if you don't feel comfortable, but you're going to want to work back in all of those vertical lines so then you make more of a checkerboard because this is when you're going to add your black paint. Once you have everything taped down, I just took a foam brush again and I put black paint into each of the squares. What I like to do is go through, apply the paint, and then kind of re-go over it with the brush, so then that way you pick up a lot of anything that's pooling or anything that has like a high concentration. Once that is completely dry, you can go ahead and rip off the paint, and this is my favorite part because you reveal what you've made. And that is it for painting the buffalo check. The last step with painting is I wanted to finish off the edge with some black paint, so then that way it just had a finished edge. You could finish with white or you could even finish with gray, but the hardware that I'm going to put on is black, so I decided to finish the edges with black. After I let it dry overnight, I grabbed these handles, which are just drawer pulls that I got from Home Depot. I got two for $3. And I measured out. I used the squares in the buffalo check to really help me center these things and really get them in the right spot, but I always measure a bunch of times before I'm going to permanently drill anything in. Then I used our drill with the impact driver and they went in really easily, so you don't have to pre-drill any holes. The wood's pretty soft too. And then once I had the handles in, I tested it, and that is it. You could add a vinyl decal to this. You could add an initial. It's currently in my guest room, holding some items for when people stay over with us. This would be a great hostess gift, and this would also be just a great gift for someone that entertains a lot. If you're going to be serving food on it, you're going to want to go through a sealing process, which you're going to want to use some poly and really make sure that it's food safe. I just sealed with a quick spray poly, and that was it. Thank you so much for watching. If you recreate this tray, be sure to tag me on Instagram, Whiskey and Wit. Also follow me over there for updates in between videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!